And the introduction says, the late Frank Sinatra popularized a song entitled I Did It My Way. The lyrics recount the experience he had in life and also boasted, I did it my way. This conclusive phrase points to a dependence on self to chart one's path in life. This seems to have been the folly of humankind, beginning with Adam and Eve vividly and tragically. It was evident in the lives of Abraham and his descendants. I stopped there. So what Adam and Eve did was kind of bigger than that. And I say that simply because a lot of times iron sharpens iron, and kind of I'll leave it there. So because I can't let that go without explaining something to you. Saints, when we look at Isaiah 14, and I know that I bring that up, but it's relative for these series of lessons, and we know that that's the fall of Lucifer. Lucifer was cast down, and then we find Lucifer as a serpent in the garden. You remember that? And there's some people now that say, the Bible never say that the devil was the serpent in the garden. Well, you got to go to the book of Revelations, smarty pants, to find out the identity of that serpent. And even if you see the big picture view, there is obviously times in the Bible where the enemy or demons actually dealt or spoke through animals. And we know one was when Jesus threw those demons, legions, into those swine. And then we got this serpent in the garden. And we even have a message from a donkey that God spoke to one of his prophets. So the precedent is there. So I said that to point out Lucifer, and then we find Lucifer, or the devil, as a serpent in the garden. The devil actually said, hath God said, we know what happened in Genesis chapter 3, but here's where things get super interesting, is that the serpent said, after Eve said what she said, no, God, this is what the serpent said, no, your eyes shall be open and shall be like God's. What did Lucifer say? I will ascend to the throne of the Most High, will be like God. So that's another connection we have. That's two things down on that false doctrine. I'll leave it there. Nevertheless, what we find out is that Lucifer and Adam and Eve basically were guilty of the same thing. And people say that Lucifer's sin was pride. Yeah, but it was kind of bigger than that. And I say that simply because Lucifer's real crime was rejecting all that God created him to be and rejecting being in the presence of his creator, God. That was Lucifer's crime. Adam and Eve's real crime wasn't, it was biting the fruit, but that was just a symptom, was rejecting God's command. Why is that important? I say that because, saints, you have to understand, there was a TikTok video, and there was a man, and he was on a TikTok video. And this man, people noticed that there was a lesion on his skin, and it looked like a mole, a bad mole on his skin, and it had always been there. It had always been there, and he paid it no mind. And a doctor got in contact, hit him up in his DMs, his direct messages, and said, man, you need to go get that checked. That could be cancerous. This man went to the doctor, found out it was cancerous. It was benign, but it was still like kind of a benign type of thing. So, and the cancer wasn't spread in his body or anything like that. But I said that to point this out in the spirit, is that mole was a symptom of something bigger, right? That was just a symptom of a bigger problem. Lucifer's pride and Adam and Eve's rejection of God was like that mole. It was a symptom of something more profound and something bigger. And that was rejecting all that God had to offer them. And here's how I know that. We can tie Jesus into that as well, because what we know is anybody that rejects all that God has to offer us, which is his son Jesus, is going to end up in the lake of fire, burning and screaming alive forever from the lake of fire. People don't end up in hell. Lucifer's not going to end up in hell because of his pride. Adam and Eve are not going to end up in hell. We don't know what the relationship was for them. Angels, there's no repentance for them. We'll talk about that another time, but human beings is kind of another thing. They may not end up in hell because of their rejection of God. Cain may not end up in hell because of murder. We end up in hell, Lucifer will, and everybody else with him, because we reject all that God has to offer us. Once we reject him, anything else is like that mole. Murder, theft, sexual misconduct, anything is like that mole. It's just a symptom of a bigger cancer in our lives.